website. Members of the public who wish to comment on matters before the commissioners in lieu of attending in person may submit comments on or before 2 p.m. the day of the meeting using the online comment form. Comments will be recorded into the official meeting record. Teleconferencing is available through Zoom. The link is on the city's website. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Can we get a roll call, please?
Madam Chair Kendrick,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sawyer.
Here.
Commissioner Lowe.
Present.
Commissioner Hendrickson.
Here.
And Commissioner Moore is not in attendance today.
Item number 3 is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to item number 4, communications from the public. Anyone who wishes to address the Infrastructure Commission regarding items listed on the agenda and not on the agenda may do so at this time. Please note that public comments are temporarily limited to 2 minutes. Please state your name when the chairperson calls for public comment, and when you're recognized, you may proceed with your comments. The Infrastructure Commission is prohibited from taking action or discussing any item not appearing on the agenda. The Commission may take action to place a matter of business on a future agenda. Do we have any comments from the public?
No public comments.
Moving on to item 5, presentations. I will turn that over to City Engineer Rao.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before I get started on my update, I'd like to introduce our city manager, Mark Prestwich. He's going to come up and say a few words.
Hoping everyone can hear me okay here. Well, good afternoon. I just wanted to stop by and say a quick hello. I'm Mark Prestwich. I'm, as Noah mentioned, the new city manager. This is, I think, the start of week 6. So I've been here 5 weeks, but many of you probably have heard I grew up in Hemet, and it's nice to be home. So I'm looking forward to working with all of you. I think City Engineer Rao and I have talked about having a governance meeting that's very similar to the meeting that we had with the City Council. And we'll be taking that same type of roadshow to the other commissions as well. So looking forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Welcome. Okay. So we'll accept a presentation for item 5A.
Thank you. Presentation's coming up here. I'm going to go ahead and start off the presentation with the update on the CIP 5711, which is an update of the city's pavement management program. And as I've shared with you before, the data was collected last summer by IMS, driving all of the city streets with a vehicle similar to the one pictured there. Once the data was collected, it was reviewed very carefully to assign each street segment a pavement condition index, or a PCI score, based on the distress types, quantities, and severity that was recorded. Each street segment is also compiled with other attributes such as the function class, GIS location properties, and dimensions, which is formatted for loading into a software package. After a significant amount of coordination to get the data into the required format, the data for Hemet has been loaded into our Cartograph asset management software on February 24th. And the city's consultant, HR Green, is currently producing a pavement management program update report that will offer a more detailed insight into the current pavement conditions and what efforts will be needed to improve the conditions to acceptable levels. This bar chart summarizes the city's pavement condition data. The chart shows the percentage of city streets by area for each condition group, ranging from very poor to excellent. The network average PCI rating is a 52 and illustrates a 47.5% backlog, which is the percentage of area falling in the poor or very poor condition range. The target average network condition rating should be at least a 70. It is important to conduct preventative maintenance on all pavement in good to excellent condition that will extend the life of that good pavement. Preventative maintenance is typically consisting of crack filling and slurry seal. Everything in the poor and very poor range needs some kind of significant rehabilitation or full replacement, while marginal and fair needs some more minor rehabilitation work. The chart on this slide shows the pavement area percentages that fall into each functional classification. Local or residential streets make up the largest area at 61.3%, followed by collectors at 24.8% and arterials at 13.9%. The average PCI rating for local roads is a 55, while collectors are at 42 and arterials at 51. The pavement survey data shows that the network has approximately 259 centerline miles of city streets. I am looking in to verify that total because I've seen some variation across a couple of sources, but that's what this data from this survey shows. The overall network average pavement width is 35 feet. The total pavement area in the city is approximately 48 million square feet. So to give some perspective, I've put down some rough cost estimates with the disclaimer, of course, at the bottom that these numbers are always changing and are for discussion purposes only. Using the average network pavement width of 35 feet at a mile in length, that area calculates to just under 185,000 square feet. The estimated cost for preventative maintenance on this area is 116,000. The estimate for a 2-inch grind and overlay rehab on this area is 496,000. Well, there's some more variables involved when it comes to full replacement, and that work has an estimated range of 1.1 million to 1.6 million for that area. I'll also note that these estimates, or the estimate for the replacement, does not include any concrete replacements that may be needed as part of that effort. Here's a typical pavement degradation curve. As you can see, there's a critical point after 75% of the pavement life in which the quality has dropped 40%. But if not maintained to keep it above fair, it will drop another 40% of quality much quicker in just 12% of its life. This is where deferring maintenance or creating a backlog gets much more costly in the long term. As I showed with my rough cost estimate in the previous slide, and as shown here, the rehab treatment and reconstruction costs are magnitudes higher than the preventative treatments. This illustrates an ideal modification to the typical degradation curve with proper preventative maintenance by extending out the life of the good to excellent condition range. This is why it's important to spend money on slurry seals to prolong the life of streets that are in good condition, rather than spending all the money on streets in the worst condition. I anticipate being able to share the final pavement management program update report with the commission at our next meeting. So moving on to the next project update, I'm pleased to announce that CIP 5726 has been completed. This project started in August 2022 and was expected to be done in December 2022. However, we experienced some issues with the subgrade material, and it had some rain delays and additional expenses in order to get completed. But it was officially completed as of March 10th and is now in closeout. CIP 5722 is the community development block grant funded project that installed sidewalks and ADA ramps as shown on the map there on Elmwood Avenue, Taylor Street, Whittier Avenue, and Apricot Lane. It also had some rain delays, but it was completed as of February 24th. CIP 5653 is the citywide sewer main replacement project that's currently in construction. Construction began in October, and the project is approximately 2/3 of the way complete. It is still expected to be completed in June, which is good considering all the rain that we've had that's delayed that one as well. CIP 5651 is the citywide traffic signal safety upgrade project to replace intersection safety lighting, pedestrian push buttons, and signal heads. This project was pushed back due to supply chain issues causing delays in getting delivery of the new controllers for the intersections. And that work, the contractor's done all the work that they can do without the controllers to this point. So it's kind of back on pause awaiting the delivery of those controllers. CIP 5742 is for installing solar streetlights at remote dark intersections. A light was installed at Myers and Devonshire on February 1st, and we have another light scheduled to be installed at Stetson and Warren. We've submitted an application for CDBG funds to install more sidewalks to fill in any missing links on Western Avenue, Palm Avenue, Latham Avenue, and Las Lunas Street. This was an application that was submitted last year but did not receive funding. So there was no other issues with the application, so we've resubmitted for these locations. And we expect to hear something in May on whether we get funding or not for these. An update on CIP 5728, which will install sidewalks and ADA ramps as shown on the map along State Street between Fruitvale and Esplanade. Here we have SCE will be adding a new pole at no cost to the city that will allow the guy wire to be removed where it impedes the new sidewalk. A pre-con meeting was held on March 14th, and a notice to proceed was issued for an April 17th start date. This is hopefully allowing enough time for SCE to get the guy wire removed before the rest of the project is complete. The update on the Gibble Skate Park. Construction of the skate park was awarded to CS Legacy on February 28th. A pre-con meeting was held last week on March 22nd, and a notice to proceed was issued for a start date of April 3rd, which is just next week. We have a groundbreaking ceremony scheduled for tomorrow, March 28th at 4:30 p.m. I think we're going to get a pretty good turnout. There's a lot of excitement that I've heard in the community. The Hemet Valley Bikeway project is still moving forward. It is funded by federal ATP, and the project received the balance required for the construction from ARPA funding. Granite construction was awarded on February 14th. Construction management and inspection was also awarded on February 14th to Wildan. A pre-con meeting is currently being coordinated for next week. This is the current fiscal year crack and slurry seal maintenance project that includes these 7 areas in a total of just over 1.6 million square feet. Bids for this project closed on January 31st. The council awarded the construction to American Asphalt South on March 14th, and the pre-con meeting is being coordinated. CIP 5736 is the rehab of the Simpson Center parking lot. It will include pavement rehab, new ADA compliant stalls and path of travel, and new signing and striping. Council awarded Aneen Construction on March 14th, and a pre-con for that project is also in the process of being scheduled. Plans for CIP 5749 are complete with the exception of the pavement section specifications. And we need a structural investigation completed to design the pavement section, and I've requested proposals from our on-call consultants to get that part done. So we're looking at, once we have that done, I'm expecting it to be around July. Hopefully we can get out to construction either August or September for this project. Some other updates. In and out traffic that backs onto Florida that we're all familiar with. Community development has recently started having some more meetings with In and Out regional management after a little bit of a delay due to some staff turnover. They're working toward an ultimate solution that will add a significant capacity to the drive-through queue. I have not had time to coordinate with any other departments to review accident data yet for this location, but it is on my list of things to do. Engineering is working on the annual update to the 5-year capital improvement plan. I anticipate this being ready to present at our next Infrastructure Commission meeting. We're working on an application for an SB 821 grant for additional sidewalks, which is due on April 27th. So as I've expressed to some of the commissioners already, I am open to any priorities for this grant opportunity. Citrus Point, the developer has started requesting city acceptance of all public improvements, along with bond reductions that are associated with those improvements. This does not include Florida Avenue landscaping, though. There's a separate bond for that work. However, it has been noted that there are some traffic control, signing, and striping missing in the development, and I'm not intending to recommend acceptance and subsequent bond reduction until that is resolved. We have a new sewer main replacement project that is now in design for some mains located mostly on Florida near the mall and north of Florida on Kirby. And then as city manager mentioned earlier, I wanted to put it on your radar that we'll be looking to schedule a special meeting for the Infrastructure Commission in the near future, since we have some new commissioners this year and the new city manager. This meeting will be led by City Manager Prestwich and will focus on topics of team building, attributes of highly effective boards and commissions, and the best practices of governance. The meeting is anticipated to be around 2 hours in length. So just be on a lookout for a request regarding that. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions that you might have.
Commissioners, do you have any questions?
Yes, quite a few. Okay. The first one is the first presentation. Okay. How are the areas determined, and in prioritizing, does it matter what area do you prioritize in repairs?
The areas, so when we get it into the software, we can use a module called Scenario Builder. So we can put in like what our budget is. You can say what types of streets you want to focus on, like whether it be collectors or arterials or local streets. And then you can also put in constraints based on area. So, you have a lot of different opportunities to decide what your project will consist of. So I don't have the full report yet, so I haven't got to play with it, but I look forward to it.
Then there's another one regarding the in and out. Okay, how far are you going back in collecting the data for the accident for the in and out?
I was planning on looking at a year.
A year.
Mhm.
Okay, on the Gibble Park. Okay, I know we had concerns about. I missed that last presentation. I know we had concerns about the rock throwing. Are we still having rocks in the Gibble Park?
There are not.
No rocks. Okay. All right. Thanks. So the slide before CIP 5722, I don't know, was that, which slide was that? Before 5722, I missed that one.
See if I can find that. That was CIP 5726.
Okay. So this, just a quick question. Do you know, what percentage of expense incurred due to delay?
It wasn't any additional expense due to delay, but it was the additional expense was due to unsuitable subgrade materials. It just took longer to finish the project.
Thank you. Then, under the solar light, I think that's CIP 5742.
Yes.
Okay. Two questions on that. And what's the status on the light on Devonshire and Warren? And also the status on the light on State and McSweeney?
I believe State McSweeney is in flash. I think it's
Yes,
been powered up and they should be, if not this week or next week, it should be programmed for actual operation. I know I've seen the timing sheets go out and so it should be programmed. Devonshire and Warren
Yes.
is still in design. I think have seen like a 60% on that design.
I think I have one more, please. Okay, so how long does the quality or how much quality we're gonna have in those roads to produce longevity on the roads? How much quality on we going on materials and
So like how long does a preventative maintenance treatment last? Is that the question?
right?
5 to 7 years.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Good questions. Excellent question.
Thank you.
I think our crews have done an excellent job of keeping up with this rain. Thank you God for the rain, but give us a break, please. You hit one day you're hitting it and you think, oh my gosh, there goes a tire. But by the next morning, they've already been there. They're doing an excellent job of trying to keep up with the subgrade of some of these roads. Because as we all know, we haven't had rain like this in 20 years. And it's just really deteriorated the infrastructure. The concern I have is that one of the concerns, especially on Devonshire, there's so much traffic that hits California and all of a sudden they're making the turn and trying to do a shortcut past 74 and Florida, the highway. So they're coming down California. And I know it's been something for our departments to keep up with, but they've done an excellent job, as I said. But I noticed the slant in the highway of Devonshire between California and Warren. And I don't know, don't want to say that the county did it on purpose, but they shoved all the water our way. And so I just like someone to take a look at it and give an opinion to us about what we should do, because the dirt and everything ponds in that area. And a lot of people like to be hot shots and go through it. And this morning, actually, I hadn't really seen a lot of stuff going on, but this morning I observed a very near miss of a couple cars and a large truck, because they turn on California and go north to Devonshire from Florida by Four Seasons. And I'm concerned about the traffic control, because you can't do anything about it. It's strictly stop signs. I mean, that's probably all that's warranted there. They're going to go through a signal and there's going to be a cop there anyway. So what's the difference? Why spend the money? But I am concerned about the pitch of the roadway. And if we can get the county to help us out a little bit, I think I know Jaime and I talked about it, out at the reception for the new supervisor. So I think we might get some cooperation there. Because Jaime's his chief of staff is he's very knowledgeable about Hemet because his previous employer years ago was one of the boys from Hemet.
Okay.
And so Marion Ashley. And so he's familiar with it. So we might be able to get a boost that way. But don't be afraid to ask because the oil's primed. And I think a lot of people, and I've noticed even sheriff's buses are taking it as a cut through. And so it's getting a lot of pounding. And I think sharing is a wonderful word right now. So anyway, yeah. But I think our crews have just done a magnificent job of getting some of these holes. I mean, they've just appeared overnight, as we all know. And by 6 o'clock the next morning, they've already fixed them. So I don't know what you're doing, Noah, but it's terrific. So you've really upped it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
They do a great job, and it is just a constant battle with all this rain.
Actually, I had a couple questions, but I did want to point out at the last council meeting, Councilmember Krupa had talked about the potholes and how she was seeing those repaired. So I thought maybe you could go, because you were talking about hot patches and soft patches, and maybe for the benefit of.
Actually have our street supervisor here that's going to give a little presentation
Okay.
on that.
Oh, perfect. So I did have a couple questions on the presentation. So for the pavement management plan, how much on average do we set aside for that a year?
This is something that we'd probably update every 3 years. And,
But- But for the funding, like annual funding to actually do the work?
So we get Measure A money, SB1, road rehabilitation money. And I think it's definitely not enough, but there's been a backlog on projects over the past several years. And so haven't caught up, been keeping up with the regular maintenance. And so that's kind of why we're in the predicament that we're in with such a large backlog. But I'm going to say somewhere in the, 3.5 million range for that budget.
My next question was, and I can definitely sympathize with when you have roads that are to a certain point, it's better to repair the ones that are in better condition. But at what point does it become a liability to the city? I mean, so those ones that are, very degraded, when do those get triggered? Is it when there's an issue out there? Like how?
I mean, anytime they're in poor condition, I can see it being a liability, but I can't really speak to that as I'm not an attorney.
I know in like the city I work in, there's some roads that haven't been done in 50 years. And so they're not looking at them because again, we're looking at taking care of the roads that are in better shape, that's more cost effective. But I just kind of wonder, when they get to a certain point, I mean, do we really have to just kind of step in and take care of that?
I think the big thing there is to find the funding to actually get out and bring the overall condition up to where it needs to be. That's something that we're going to be, digging into to try to find a way to do that. So.
And then since you said there's a backlog on the controllers, I mean, do we have a time frame on when they're coming in?
Well, they initially said January, and I know they've been pushed back a couple times since then, but they should, we still expect them soon.
Just to touch on Chair Lady's question regarding liability. Okay, after you guys do all the touring around and making those lists, liability is a key issue. So how often do you go back and check in order to prevent a high liability risk?
As far as doing regular maintenance on the streets?
Yes, because if you guys go around and collect all your data and prioritize the list of the maintenance, and how often do you go back and go check, see how bad the roads have become before you start the process?
So we would want to do a survey of the city at least every 3 years on that.
All right, thank you.
One quick question. Is there emergency funding coming from the state because of the weather? Has there been any talk of it? Should we apply for it? Should we apply pressure as individuals to those people we know in Sacramento to get on the stick and help the cities? Or is there something in the works that's been talked about?
There's nothing that I'm aware of, but I know that everyone's having the same issues everywhere in the state. So I'm hoping that something will come from that.
All right, thank you.
Now, presentation for item 5B.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the commission. My name is Dan Cortesi, and I am the Environmental Compliance Coordinator for the City of Hemet. A proclamation recognizing April 27, 2023 as City of Hemet Arbor Day 2023 will be presented at the April 11th City Council meeting. The public is invited to share in the honor of this worthy accomplishment at the Arbor Day tree planting ceremony to be held Thursday, April 27th, 2023 at 10 a.m. And this will be at this will actually be at Oatman Park, which is located at 985 North Costin Avenue in Hemet. A tree donated by the Hemet Women's Club will be planted in celebration of Arbor Day. City staff would like to invite each of our infrastructure commissioners to join us at this year's tree planting ceremony. Please take a moment to watch a short video from last year's Arbor Day event.
You. And we have the presentation for item 5B from the street supervisor. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Dan? I didn't think of this sooner. Since we're putting this at Oatman Park and our former public works director was such an animal lover and it's our dog park and so forth. Would you mind if we invited his daughter to attend that planting?
Absolutely, that'd be amazing. Yeah,
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Thank
for
you.
sure.
Afternoon, guys. How you doing? My name is Greg Holyoke. I'm the street supervisor for the city of Hemet. Noah asked me to come here, kind of give you guys an informational presentation, procedures and whatnot regarding our potholing and how our department handles it, different procedures, different mixes, stuff like that. So put together a little informational thing for you guys. Didn't make some cool videos and stuff, but hopefully give you guys some, knowledge on how we're handling some of this stuff. So potholes, nobody likes them. They pop up overnight. Most common ways when water seeps into the cracks, the surface of the road, then combined with the vibration of tires over the cracks, this causes the asphalt to fail. That's why there are a lot more potholes when it rains. Since December 1st of 2022, only a few months back. The City of Hemet Public Works Department has performed over 400 separate pothole tasks throughout the city roads. Each of these tasks is over a section of roadway, which can contain multiple potholes in that task. So this is not just 400 potholes. This is 400 tasks. Some of these can contain anywhere from 6 to 18 separate potholes in these sections of roadway. Crews have currently gone over, I wrote this last week, through over 60 tons of high performance pothole mix. We just went and got 12 more this morning. So we can up that number a little bit. So our department elects to use what's called a high performant asphalt for its pothole mix. It's a little bit better than your normal just cold mix, a little more oils. It's a little bit better to use during multiple weather conditions. So hot, cold, rain. It stands a much better chance of holding itself in that hole, especially during these wet conditions. If you have seen, they do eventually come out, but it works a lot better and can be permanent in some of our drier conditions. So we keep our cold patch in bulk at our corporation yard, so it's ready to use at any time. Our typical cold patching is used by removing larger loose asphalt and debris from the hole and then using a shovel to fill it in, leaving it about a ½ inch high. The patch is then compacted with various tools, whether a tamp, a shovel, or wheel rolling it with a roller or truck tires. The size and location of these holes typically dictate that procedure. Larger holes, we're definitely driving over them a few times with the truck, the weight of the truck to really compact it down. Some of them in lighter areas, you might just use a tamp, or high traffic areas. We need to get it in and out pretty quick. As far as the way we receive our requests, our public works crews receive them through our SeeClickFix app, as well as people that call the corporate yard and report them. And also our employees as they're out, whether it's tree guys, water guys, wastewater guys, if they see them, they give me a call, they let us know, hey, you got something over here. During dry times, requests are minimum and crews are typically able to respond to them within 1 to 2 business days. Potholes that are patched during these dry weather times will typically become permanent, and only certain ones will need a more permanent repair depending on the surrounding roadway conditions. During rain events, the city will have multiple trucks and crews out scouring the streets looking for potholes. These potholes patched during rain events have varying degrees of effectiveness. If patched in high traffic areas that are on water flow lines or low areas where water tends to settle, they tend to slowly blow back out and will need to be filled multiple times until a permanent patch can be performed. Potholes patched during rain events that are on low traveled areas and away from standing water have a much higher success rate of remaining in place for an extended period of time. During rain events where multiple crews are potholing, we travel the high traffic, high priority roads first, such as Sanderson, Kirby, Warren, Acacia, Stetson, roads like that. The high traffic roads hit first are the ones that we know that are prone, something's going to happen. They're Warren Road in certain areas, we know they just happen. There's certain spots. When we have a lot of heavy rain like we had last Wednesday, the crews tend to target the bigger holes that can obviously damage cars and vehicles first. A lot of these sometimes are underwater, and we do the best we can to try to mitigate any liability as far as trying to just fill the holes. Anytime during these storms, I break off crews, for larger holes that become a priority for damage or liability. And once the rain is slowed and there's no longer water flowing in the roadway, crews will start targeting the smaller, less traveled areas. Crews can also use a hot patch procedure to perform a more permanent repair to potholes and other asphalt work. Hot patch is performed using asphalt that is over 300 degrees. The area is cleaned and a tack, like an asphalt glue, is applied to the existing asphalt surface. This helps the hot asphalt adhere to the existing surface and creates a much stronger bond than a cold asphalt patch. The city of Hemet currently has a 6-ton hot patch truck that we utilize for transporting the asphalt. It contains a heating system to keep the asphalt warm for an extended period of time to allow the crews to work with it throughout the day. Currently crews have to drive to a plant in Fontana to pick up a load of asphalt, which is usually anywhere from 2 to 3 hour turnaround trip. Hot asphalt can not be used when it's raining or when there's too much moisture in the road. It will not stick. Crews use hot asphalt to make permanent repairs to troublesome potholes that'll continue to come apart if not sealed with a hot patch. We can also use the hot asphalt to do thin overlays over areas that are severely alligator to try and prevent potholes in the future. This can be time consuming as 6 tons does not go as far as you hope it would when doing these thin overlays. Prior to 2020, the Streets Division performed various hot asphalt tasks on a regular basis. After the reduction in staffing in the Streets Division and the addition of graffiti removal and the huge uptick in illegal dumping, crews became more reactionary with cold patch pothole repairs and became limited to perform hot asphalt tasks. With the addition of our Liberty Men's Ranch crew to help with illegal dumps, and I was able to hire a few temporary part-time maintenance workers through the ARPA funded apprentice program that I have doing graffiti abatement for us. And then utilizing some workers from our wastewater and storm drain divisions, our crews have been able to schedule some days for running to get a load of hot asphalt when it's dry, which has been tough over the past few months. This past month, we've laid down 24 tons of hot asphalt and are planning to do another 12 to 18 tons over the next couple of weeks, weather permitting. Our goal is to propose additional staffing in the Streets Division this next fiscal year that will put a focus back on permanent and preventative asphalt work using our hot asphalt truck. We're also working, there is a plant in Paris that we tried to utilize back in the day, but All American would only open it when they were doing their jobs, and they only run what their jobs are going to need. So there's different sizes. There's like a school mix. It's pretty small. There's a 3/8 fine, which is what we typically use a lot for our pothole repairs and the thin stuff. And then there's 1/2 inch fine, which we can use for thicker stuff or actual cut and removals that we do. The 1/2 inch is what Paris runs 90% of the time. So obviously if they're running that and we need to do thinner stuff, it doesn't work to go there. But I spoke with their plant manager a few weeks ago, and they've lately now been open a lot due to the community and asphalt work. So we're going to try to utilize them whenever we can. So we can obviously make that turnaround trip a lot shorter, and maybe even do a couple loads a day if it permits. So we're working in that direction. So it's kind of what I have for you guys. I don't know if you have any questions or hopefully.
How many employees are you down?
The actual streets department went from 13 to 4.
You're doing an outstanding job, let me tell you. I
I
can't
have
say enough good things about you.
couple of questions. Okay, I have a couple of questions. Okay, you mentioned about I think the last rain you covered about 400 potholes.
This was since I went back to December 22nd, which is kind of when this whole system of, rain every week or every other week kind of started. So I went back to the 1st of December for those numbers.
So what do you think? Do you think it's probably the mixture you get in, or you also stated that you go pick up the asphalt on a long distance away? So why don't it stick? Why do you have to spend so much time and labor and expense in repairing those?
So anything that we go to the 2 hours for the hot asphalt, we haven't had to touch again. Those are more permanent repairs. Those repairs can only be done when it's dry. And obviously I have to have a crew to do it. That's not a 1-guy job or a 2-guy job. That's a 3 to 4 man, with the asphalt truck. Those do last. As far as the 400 plus potholes that we're doing with the cold mix, those are, I don't want to call it a temporary patch. Some of them can be permanent. If they're in a dry road, if we go out there to Dominigoni Parkway where there's a hole that's like this that opened up for whatever reason in the middle, we patch it in, we pack it in. I might not have to touch it for another 20 years. Water is the biggest factor, period. if you get water settling over that asphalt, which is oil and water don't mix. And when you get a car that drives over it with its tire, it pushes that water into little cracks, and you see it on the potholes. You'll see the little pebbles start to come out, and it's not going to stick with those cold patches. There's just no seal. So that's why when we have a chance, we go and do these hot asphalt repairs. But obviously to go, and it takes time to do a hot asphalt repair versus with the shovel, I could fill a pothole in about a minute and move to the next one. Where the hot asphalt, you have to dry the area. You have to then apply a tack. The tack requires a slight setup time, anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes sometimes, depending on the weather. And then you lay the asphalt, smooth it out, then it's compacted. And then we lay another ring of tack around the edges to help seal the edges off. There's a slight cooling period, and then we move on to the next one. So it's a lot more time consuming. They are permanent. We do work towards those. But the regular ones, especially with this weather, anything in the rain is just a battle, especially the cross gutters. And you guys have seen them when you go across the little cross gutters right next to them tend to be really bad. Water just destroys everything. So unfortunately, I know it's an expense and it seems like we just keep filling the same ones. But with the way the weather's been, we really don't have a choice. We do that until we can come back with hot asphalt, which has been a challenge with 4 employees in my streets department. So
just another quick question. With this might be $1 million question that, okay, with the rains, you see a lot of streets in the city is flooding. How does that affect the potholes?
oh, that's massive. You can tell where the potholes are by the streets that are flooded. The streets where if you drive down Menlo and Kirby, for instance, that cross gutter is underwater a lot. And that's one of the potholes that's on our list to hot patch here if we can't get to it tomorrow and the next day. Devonshire between California and Warren is another one. That lane flows like a river. And it was the city who paved that whole road. But that one is on our list to do within the next couple of weeks, the few sections of potholes that are there, at least on our side. I'm also hoping that's one that accumulates a lot of sand on the side that leads to that water on the road. We did it about 8-9 years ago. We closed the road and we removed, I don't know how many dump trucks full of sand on that side. I'm hoping to schedule and do that again to at least try to keep some of that water off the road. But anywhere you have water that flows or sits on a road, puddles in a road, and then you have vehicles, you're gonna have erosion of the roadway. So.
Question for you is, from time of report to time of repair, what's your general timeline?
During the dry months, when we don't have, hundreds of them throughout the city, it seems like, my goal is 1 to 2 business days. Right now, back prior to 2020, my goal was 1 business day, but I had a lot more employees then. So currently where I'm at now, my goal is 1 to 2 business days, to get to that whole at max. Typically if I don't have an asphalt crew out every day with a pothole truck. Some days I got guys, this guy's doing graffiti. This one's rebuilding signs. I got this one picking up illegal dumps. I got these painting red curb. And so I don't have anybody with asphalt on their truck. So if I can break somebody off to fill it because it's a big one, I will. Otherwise I'll schedule a crew to go the next day, hit that one, and then start targeting others. When it was raining like it was last week, a few of those days where it was heavy raining, I had 3 trucks out and I break them up by area and they just drive. And then I know where they're at. And so as I get calls in, I text each and every one of them, hey, hit this one. This is in your area. This one is in your area. We try to get them same day during those events, but obviously there's some of them that are underwater. Some of them keep coming back. So that's my goal. We do the best we can. So.
Well, knowing that the water is the issue with the road deteriorating, what are we doing to get rid of the water?
Frank.
No,
That,
because
and
no gutter systems.
no, and it's
I mean, if you've ever been down State Street, it's all the way over the sidewalk.
And there is and Noah will have all the information on that. There is a storm drain project that's supposed to be starting on State Street eventually.
Section of State and Menlo, half of it's been concreted. The other half is not there. There is a hole the size of my wheelchair right beside the manhole.
The
Yeah,
other
of the
side is
intersection.
county too. Yeah. You're right.
Is it's being delayed because there's some high pressure gas lines that have to be relocated by Southern California Gas.
Could understand
There,
because it's water that's destroying the streets and causing problems. If we control the water, then we could possibly have our streets in better shape.
And that's another, I mean, that's another finding the funding for putting a storm drain underground is not cheap. And this town's Whittier is now underground, Stetson is underground. It's slowly happening, but you know, that's another issue is getting storm drains on these high flow streets to move the water underground. But you know, there's nothing, as far as my department, there's nothing I can do to move the water out of the gutter. Unfortunately, I would love to keep it out of there because it just creates way more work for me because I also oversee the storm drain department. So I also deal with all the basins and drainage ditches and flow lines and everything else. So all those two go hand in hand. So.
Well, I did, but you know, it's always been farmland. And now it's developed quickly. And developers come in, the plan sounds good. The economic development is good for the city, support services. And sometimes we forget the infrastructure. And so maybe through the next year, we can take a good look and see what we as individuals can do with a lot of the developers and say, hey, wait a minute, what are you going to do for us? Because Lord knows their houses are sold before they're moved into. I mean, that's just the way it is. And we look at Domagony and see that. Fortunately, Salt Creek is there. Otherwise, it would have been a racetrack of sliding, you know, off to Never Never Land. And so now that we are finally a committee again, and the council cares about this kind of thing, I think it's important that, and of course, I'm going to give him a kudo again. We have a public works director that knows what he's doing, but I'm sorry about that. I think it's time that we look at this and take the time to talk about it, because I think all these points that everybody's made are important. And I appreciate the fact we have a council member here to hear the public and hear our side of it too, what the concerns are. It's a nice change for the new year. So anyway, I think we've got a city manager that is familiar with all this stuff now. And I think it's like the stars are colliding and maybe we're going to have a comet come through. So I'm hoping anyway. Yeah, but great report. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And please thank your employees because you only have 4 in your crew right now. 3, remarkable. I mean, I don't know if they're working at 2:00 in the morning, but it's just amazing to me what they've been able to keep up with the last few weeks. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 6, which is our consent calendar. All consent items will be acted upon by a single action of the commission unless otherwise requested by an individual commissioner for separate consideration. So tonight we have item 6A, which is approval of the minutes from January 30th, 2023. Do we have any modifications to the minutes? Otherwise, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second. Need a roll call, please?
Commissioner Hendrickson. Commissioner Lowe,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sawyer,
But abstain.
and Madam Chair Kendrick.
Yes.
Motion passed 3-0.
Moving on to item number 7, discussion items. Number 7A is rescheduling of the next Infrastructure Commission meeting that currently falls on Memorial Day. Calendar. Do you have a date in mind? City engineer?
Probably either the Monday before or the Monday after.
The Monday before, I'll be at ICSC, so that doesn't work.
22nd.
Yeah, I'll be at ICSC, so.
How about June 5th?
That works for me. Okay. So do we need to make a motion? Okay. I'll make a motion that we move our next meeting to June 5th of 2023.
Commissioner Hendrickson? Commissioner Lowe?
Yes.
Vice Chair Sawyer?
Yes.
And Madam Chair Kendrick?
Yes.
Motion passed 4-0.
Moving on to item 7B, the Simpson Park Restoration Project. Can we get a staff report, please?
Once again, good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the commission. As I said before, my name is Dan Cortese, and I am the Environmental Compliance Coordinator for the City of Hemet. And as you may have noticed from the proposal in front of you, I'm also a very active member of the Rotary Club of Hemet. This afternoon, I would like to present to you the Simpson Park Restoration Project. As all of you are aware, the Fairview Fire began on September 5th, 2022, near Batista Road and Fairview Avenue in the unincorporated county area of Hemet. The fire grew quickly, growing to the south and to the west into the communities of Cactus Valley, South Hemet, and Sage, as well as burning south and east into the Batista and Blackburn Canyons and the Red Mountain area on the southwest side of the San Jacinto district of the San Bernardino National Forest. As a result of the Fairview fire, our Simpson Park was significantly damaged. Most of the surrounding vegetation was lost, and 50 trees were burned in the fire, overall consuming over 28,000 acres of land surrounding the city of Hemet. And most importantly, it should be noted that 2 precious lives were lost. The idea to restore Simpson Park was born through Rotary. Rotary International and the Rotary Club of Hemet shares an interest in protecting our common legacy, the environment. Rotary is committed to supporting activities that strengthen the conservation and protection of natural resources, advance ecological sustainability, and foster harmony between communities and the environment. Rotary empowers communities to access grants and other resources, embrace local solutions, and spur innovation in an effort to address the causes and reduce the effects of climate change and environmental degradation. The Simpson Park Restoration Project will take place on April 29th at 7 a.m. The community will be invited to attend this event via social media and information provided on the City of Hemet website. The community will be encouraged through a marketing campaign to help donate and plant trees, paint facilities, and pick up trash at Simpson Park in celebration of Arbor Day. The City of Hemet will prep the site with irrigation and holes for 22 trees. The tree locations were selected to replace burned trees from the fire and to provide shade near picnic bench locations. The focus for the tree planting will be near the butterfly garden, the meadow, and the large gazebo. The city can organize a phase 2 project to plant additional trees near the meadow, top parking lot, and bathrooms. Additionally, Staff will survey the park trails and surrounding areas prior to the event. All safety concerns will be properly delineated and secured to ensure volunteer safety. Volunteers will have the opportunity to remove weeds around the large gazebo, parking lots, and structures. All debris will be placed in a 40-yard roll-off container, which will be donated by our trash hauler, CR&R. An additional dumpster already located at the park will be used for trash disposal. Volunteers will be provided with paint, brushes, rollers to paint the inside of the park restrooms. Painting of the exterior of the facilities may be addressed in phase 2. The city will close off the gazebo parking lot to allow for CR&R to conveniently place the roll-off bin. Volunteers will be able to drop off items from around the park at this location. Western Riverside Council of Governments, or WRCOG, will be present at the event, showcasing the Love Your Neighborhood program. The Love Your Neighborhood program is an action-ready stormwater pollution prevention initiative for Riverside County that spans across 27 cities and 3 watersheds: the Middle Santa Ana River, Santa Margarita, and the Whitewater River watershed. WRCOG will supply volunteers with gloves, safety vests, pickers, trash bags, and information. The City of Hemet Water Department will provide the City of Hemet branded water bottles and a hydration station for volunteers. Based on the review of costs associated with the Simpson Park restoration, it is anticipated that the cost for the irrigation parts for 22 trees will be at $1,469.99, which is built into the park's operating budget for fiscal year 22-23. The paint and supplies to repaint the Simpson Park restroom are approximately $160, and that's built into the facility maintenance operating budget for fiscal year 22-23. The Rotary Club of Hemet and Valley Community Pantry will provide snacks and a light lunch for volunteers. Partnerships in this event will include, but are not limited to, WRCOG, CR&R, the City of Hemet Water Department, Boy Scout Pack 45 and 46, the Rotary Club of Hemet, and many potential volunteers in our community. Riverside Park and Open Space District has offered the Rotary Club of Hemet the opportunity to apply for a $1,000 grant, which is currently being explored. And 5th District Supervisor Yixtin Gutierrez has made a verbal commitment for funding towards phase 2. City staff is currently working on a proposal for phase 2. The success of this project will be measured in a few ways. It is important to note that the city will be providing waivers to volunteers. Participation will be tracked through the collection of these waivers. Trash and debris weight will be provided by CR&R after the event. WRCOG will be tracking participation, items collected, and total of bags collected. This information will be available at their Love Your Neighborhood website. City staff will also present a follow-up report to the commission and/or council if requested. It is respectfully recommended that the Infrastructure Commission discuss and provide staff direction to approve the Simpson Park Restoration Project as proposed by staff in the Rotary Club of Hemet on April 29, 2023. Sorry. Thank you for your time, and I would be more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I have a couple questions. In your staff report, so you're talking about 22 trees, but you gave us some invoices, so there's 50 trees.
The amount of trees that were destroyed in the fire was at 50. That 50 expands from the very top of the park all the way down past the mobile homes and along the road edge. We decided on this area first because this is the easiest area to access water for irrigation. There are some trees outside of the area too that are too far to get irrigation to. We don't want to waste planting trees in areas that we can't irrigate. We want them to survive. So that's where those two numbers go. We went out and did a survey, and we found 22 locations that we thought best fit the need for this project, but it has the ability, the irrigation system will have the ability to expand upon, and plus we can also add an irrigation to the top section in the future as well.
But we purchased these trees, or no, that's just a quote. Okay.
But just to clarify on the trees we're asking the community to donate. So many of the trees won't actually be purchased by the city of Hemet. The only thing that would be purchased would be the irrigation parts.
And then I saw you had 24 bubblers, but we're doing 22. So can you explain?
That may have been a typo or something.
Okay.
Yeah, because we did. Yeah, or there was a request for additional parts.
Bubbler, who cares?
Yeah, but we're going to expand upon that hopefully in phase 2 if approved.
And then one of the questions I had, which is answered in the fiscal impact, but it was the staff costs. So in the discussion, we talk about the irrigation and the painting, but I guess in the fiscal impact, you're talking about how much it's going to cost for city staff to attend the event.
And the staff cost would be around $5,900 for prep and the day of.
I have one question and one recommendation. Okay, my question is, did we explore any funding from the state or federal since this was a disaster?
This federal and state funding was not looked into by myself or Rotary. It may have been looked into by the city. I think the concept behind this was more or less to include the community to restore this park. I think there's a lot of people in this community that love this park and are willing to do whatever it takes to help get it back into its semi-original condition.
Okay, so this one is probably for the commission to ponder this one. I don't know how the name was generated, Simpson Park, but I would like for us to reconsider in probably renaming, since it's a restoration, renaming the park after those two that were lost. I don't know how that, I mean.
You want to open a can of worms?
That's what I said. Okay.
Okay.
I don't know. So,
Maybe I could just
yes,
kind of reflect on that a little bit.
right, thank you.
Please let's don't open that can of worms.
Yeah.
Yeah. Simpson was a former mayor, council member, philanthropist of Hemet and responsible for a lot of this happening. But have you checked the BLM agreement yet? Oh, in full disclosure, I'm also a member of that Rotary Club. I want to tell you, I just want you to know. But there is an agreement, and I'll look through my 2 boxes to see if I still have a copy, but there should be one in the archive and legal department of the city with the federal government. And because when Kempthorne was Secretary of Interior, we worked on that project to get some extra funding, and we were able to get it through his office when he was with the Interior Department. And I'll be happy to volunteer to do that. I'll definitely because if we can get some BLM money for that park, that would also help your budget and the city's budget. It was over 100-year agreement that we would have that park, and we're not there yet. So that's a good thing. And I'll be happy to do that. But when you said, when you explained this, there might be additional monies and stuff that you'd be able to do. You've done an outstanding job, really.
Thank you.
You have. You're amazing. I don't know how you do it all, but I'll look this next week in boxes. So.
And I imagine phase 2 could open up some more opportunities to do more. So
Yeah.
we can plan ahead
Okay,
for
great.
sure.
Thanks, Dan.
Any other comments? So this is a recommendation item to the city council, so I will take a motion.
I move
make-
approval of staff recommendation.
I second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Hendrickson, Commissioner Lowe,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sawyer,
Yes,
and Madam Chair Kendrick.
Yes.
Motion passed 4-0.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 8, future agenda items. If commissioners have items for consideration at a future infrastructure commission meeting, please state the agenda item. I'm excited to see what kind of information we get on the in and out. And then another item that I'd like to bring forward to the commission is the Elk Street maps. I've noticed that out there, there's no stop signs on the internal development. And then on the bond for the scenic highway improvements on Florida for Citrus Point, I guess what's the process for that? Because I know, I mean, it's been quite some time. So I guess what's the next step?
That's a good question.
Moving forward.
And that's for the Florida Avenue improvements. So they have their encroachment permit. I'm not really sure. I think there was some sort of a water line or something that had to be relocated last I heard. So there's some sort of a delay that's causing them to not quite finish that yet.
There's been equipment and pipes out there for a very long time and a porta
Yeah.
potty.
What does that border Citrus? Is it out there? It's out on the east end, no? It's right there. Yeah. It's right there at Lake in Florida. And they're not allowed to. How are they getting by with all these C of Os without completion? That's my question. I've been asked by other people that live out there for years, you know, they had to finish their subdivisions. And here we are, and the place is still a mess and nothing's been done and people are living there. So I guess maybe that's the question. I'm sorry to be so blunt about it, but you know, it doesn't have anything to do with our staff right now. Especially you, Noah, but you know, enough's enough.
Yeah, I know that, you know, that those delays have been a long time coming. And a lot of it was, you know, them getting their encroachment permit from Caltrans, because once they got it, they mobilized right away, but then they encountered yet another issue that has to be resolved before they can finish those improvements.
Well, doesn't it have to do with the developer and how it became 3 parties instead of just 2 for the development of the homes? But the lighting and landscaping belonged to somebody else? Wasn't there I don't know, but I agree with Carol because
It's been,
not right. I mean,
yeah,
that
there's
needs
been
to
an
be
assessment
finished.
district formed for that maintenance once the project's done, but you know, obviously
Yeah.
the city can't accept anything until it's done, and it's had a year of warranty period.
Well, then maybe they shouldn't have a C of O if they can't finish it. Gee, what a concept, except I'm sure all the houses are built and they're living in it. Sure, of course.
Yeah, if we could get, I just, like I said, I want to understand the process, or maybe if we can get an update from the developer, if it's some issue with Lake Hemet Municipal Water District. I'd like to know what that is.
And I raise that issue because I've had a couple phone calls from people and they're blaming the council for it. And I said, no, wait a minute. You can't blame the council for it because it has to do with state law too. But there could have been, from previous councils, there could have been some restrictions put on that, or a planning commission someplace that should have long time ago. So I don't know what the specifics are, but I think we need to find out. Because, I mean, there's no tree, it's a weed patch. Looks awful. Yeah.
I don't know how, I don't think it might be too difficult. If you can go back 3 years, to get an accurate accident report instead of 1 year from the in and out. I think 3 years would give you more balance.
Yeah, that's the shot.
I'm just discussing with Carol here because I have a WRCOG meeting on the new date for your next meeting and I'll be in Riverside, so I don't know if I'll make it back in time or not.
No,
So
you wouldn't.
we were kind of looking for another date maybe. I don't know.
I'll be in Vegas at ICSC as probably some other Hemet city staff.
We do it the 12th.
I can do the 12th.
The 12th, it's the second Monday. How would that work?
I'm good. Yeah, 12 is.
I know, but I saw kind of a frown there. Oh, okay.
June 12th is good for me. So.
Sorry, June.
You'd never make it through traffic. Try to get back. Oh, it's awful. Went through it. The 12th, it'd be the following Monday. Oh, good.
So I will make a motion to modify our next Infrastructure Commission meeting to June 12th. Can I get a second? Roll call?
That okay with staff?
Commissioner Hendrickson, Commissioner Lowe,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sawyer,
Yes.
and Madam Chair Kendrick.
Yes.
Motion passed 4-0.
So item 9 is the adjournment. The next Infrastructure Commission meeting will be held on June 12th at the City of Hemet Council Chambers located at 450 East Latham Avenue. And that concludes our meeting at 5:18 PM. Thank you.
Thank you.